I find that most people who are interested in emotional work, shadow work, they are the type to take responsibility for themselves. They like to think of themselves as, okay, I am not a victim of the world. How did my own actions, thoughts, behaviors have an impact or influence the situation I'm in? I think that's a really admirable quality. But I think it's important to make this distinction between what is actually being in a quote-unquote victim mindset or a victim mentality versus the actual pain, or let's call it an open wound, based on a real thing that really happened to you. Because these well-meaning intentions to not be a victim, be in charge of my own life, take responsibility, can sometimes be used as a way to actually step out of a painful open wound, a painful emotion that lives within us, and it delays our natural ability to process and resolve that emotion. So what this looks like, and I see it working with people one-on-one, doing things like EFT tapping and such, that an uncomfortable emotion will arise based on a real experience. Okay, someone's gone through a divorce, they lost their job, they got fired. And what will happen often is while it's being described, right, the actual pain, the shame, the fear of loss, the fear of how am I going to make money, can sometimes quickly be edited with, but I know that, I wasn't perfect, or I know I played a role in this, and I want to take responsibility. I don't want to be the victim to having lost that job, or be the victim of letting what that other person said or texted to me in the breakup or the divorce have this amount of influence on how I feel. I want that personal sense of responsibility. So that can delay just feeling into, let's call it the open wound that's there, and resolving it. To have an actual painful emotion living within you based on a real event does not make you a victim in any way. A victim, as I often interpret it in the modern language of don't be a victim in your life. If 6 months, 6 years from now, you really identify with, I'm the guy who got hurt, right? I'm the woman who got fired, and all these other things that happen in your life. 6 months from now, you're being mean to your kids, or you are engaging in these destructive behaviors, and you're like, yeah, but it's not my fault. It's because that jerk fired me 6 years ago. Or it's because of all that stuff my ex-wife said to me. I'm giving myself a pass to just engage in all sorts of behavior, or to languish in certain emotions and certain behaviors. You are not doing that just by acknowledging that there's a very real pain here and I need to work through it. So if you start exploring a firing, a thing that happened to you, it could be 20 years old, and you feel the real pain and sadness, it means there's still an open wound there, and you're not a victim at all by acknowledging that. In fact, you are consciously being courageous and saying, you know what, there's still some emotional pain, there's some stuckness here. I'm going to consciously step into that. Really let myself feel and experience whatever's behind that. The feelings, the images, the thoughts that come up might be things that look very, let's call it victim-y, right? You might have parts of you saying, I can't believe, she said that to me. I can't believe they fired me. I can't believe they did it that way. When you are doing that consciously, when you are letting those voices come out, when you're letting that emotion be felt and heard, even if it is very childlike and longing and grasping, you are doing that as a conscious process to liberate that emotion, that emotional energy, all of that stuff. So honor that. If something comes up that feels like, ooh, that feels kind of clingy, or that feels like a thought I wouldn't be super proud to think, say, okay, but I embrace that that's here. That's part of what got triggered by this real experience. Like a brave firefighter, I am consciously stepping in to the fire. And sometimes those ones that are a little embarrassing, like, oh, I can't believe I feel so clingy, or I feel so desperate for this job, those can be actually harder and take more courage to look at, because they're more cringy than they are just like necessarily brutally painful. But when you let yourself go there, when you let yourself have that, It's the total opposite of being a victim. It's being a conscious agent and stepping in to where your own pain is and helping it process, helping it release. So if you catch yourself thinking, oh, I don't want to be a victim, you're not. You're already self-aware enough to even have that thought. Just honor what's there. Say, the more I just explore into it consciously, the more I am being that self-responsible agent and being my own friend and letting this stuff come through. I have an ebook below, free, short thing that goes through some of my processes, ways you can relate to yourself in this way to help you talk to yourself when this sort of stuff that you don't really love to see comes up, some of that cringy, clingy type energy. Think of it like it's your best friend, right? What would you say to them? So hope that helps. If you have any questions, comments, just let me know, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks.